ironically enough, you didn't really grow up listening to metal. It was more, I know that you had a
No.
whole new romantic phase.
Yeah.
Obviously, Duran Duran's one of your favorite bands, the
Yes.
industrial phase. So walk me through a little bit about your musical journey. And when you, obviously there was Jesus Christ Superstar, but when you really got the bug to play music and that musical journey that you were led on.
I mean, the first time I remember any kind of rock thing that I remember that sparked me was when I heard "Whole Lot of Love" from Led Zeppelin.
Best
My
ever.
put that record on, and that kind of like, wow, that grabbed me somehow, and that sent me down that like, whoa, I want to check what this has. And this, I was very, very young, and I actually have that console still to this day that I heard that first Led Zeppelin record on. I keep it,
Amazing.
and when I want to be inspired, that's like a an object that totally inspired me from my childhood that I still, and I have it in the studio. Sometimes I go sit and just stare at, touch it, just get some inspiration because it was like, it's like a good luck charm for me. I still have that thing.
It's
And
amazing how those records hold up, by the way. I mean, they still
right.
sound
I
so
mean, that was
incredible.
an amazing, amazing record.
Yeah.
And so then that, and then growing up as a child, my stepfather was totally into old 70s funk, and my dad played in all these bands, and I listened to everything. So there wasn't necessarily any kind of certain style of music. I just listened to everything. And when I got into junior high, that's when I think sixth grade junior high is when MTV started.
Mm.
And actually MTV Bakersfield was a test market for it at the time. And I actually saw the first, when they came on the air and they played Radio Killed the Video, or Video Killed the Radio Star. I saw that, and I sat my ass in front of that TV all the time and just watched all those videos and all those bands. And that just made me start thinking, I don't want to do this. I still want to do this.
They only had like 5 videos at that point, so they kept repeating the same
Yeah,
videos.
it just kept going, but it was so cool. I mean,
yeah,
no, it was so different. I mean, all we had was just listening to the radio and records.
yeah.
So to see something actually on video, I know it was a big deal as a little kid, but it was a big deal to me. And just being around all that my whole life made me want to do this. But my father did it, and my mother and the stepdad, but my dad told me, you're not going to go into the music business. You need to find and get a real job and all that stuff. So it made me want to do it more.
And when did the goth phase kick in? Obviously, there's Christian Death and Bauhaus and all those bands. And I think that you were actually even wearing like eyeliner to school at that point and getting bullied a little bit, right?
Yeah, that was, I mean, the eyeliner stuff that started around when I was a freshman. We were doing this musical, and I was in it, and we stayed, the band, the people that were in the cast, we all stayed at different people's houses. There was a guy or girl, because have you ever heard this band? I know what you're talking. I mean, you ever heard this? It's called Depeche Mode, and they played the Blasphemous Rumors. And I heard that song, and it was over. I just went crazy. Depeche Mode. I mean, it was Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, all that stuff. I just went down that, and I started trying to get as much as I possibly could. It wasn't like you could go on the internet at the time. I had to like save up my money, and I could go down to the record store and buy the vinyl. I'd take it home and put it on my record player and listen in headphones at night. And I just do the odds and ends around my dad's store or chores to get money to go buy music. So I mean, that was Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, all the stuff on MTV, and
later on Christian Death and some of those bands,
Christian
right?
Death, and there was a bit. I heard Ministry's Twitch album.
Yeah.
And so that started more industrial stuff, and I liked Ministry when they were doing like the softer stuff. Every Day is Halloween and all that era of the band. And then I discovered this label called Wax Trax from Chicago, and then I started getting into all of those bands, and the Skinny Puppy and Murder Inc. and Doubting Thomas and all these like other bands. And then after that, I started to listen to, there was a couple guys in town that owned a nightclub called the Dallas here in Bakersfield. And they went on to become the Baker Boys. It was on Power X, or these DJs. And so I started hanging out with them, and I just started listening to this stuff called New York freestyle music.
Sure.
And got into Stevie B and Noel and Company B, Trenier, all these, El Knifefish, Egyptian Lover. And I started really getting into DJing. And I got a job here in town at a local sound company, and they had a DJ division, and I would start DJing, and I really got into that. That was my next evolution into music. After all that, was said and done, this album, Vulgar Display of Power, came out from Pantera.
Sure.
And that was like, oh my God. I mean, before that, there was
well, there was Motley and a lot of the bands.
Motley and all those bands, the metal band from the 80s.
Sure.
But the two bands that got me into like grooving kind of stuff, I gotta be honest, were Helmet and that Vulgar Display of Power record. I mean, there's other ones. I'm probably not with Sepultura, bands that I learned to Sepultura when I got in Korn, but those two bands really sent me on like, what is this? I love it. It's emotional. It's heavy, and I grew because I like to move my head. I love music that makes me want to dance, and that started me down that the path into more heavier music.
When you look back on it, I think actually next year marks the 30th year of the band. Does it feel like it's been 30 years? It's crazy, right? Any like great plans to celebrate the 30th anniversary next year, by the way?
No, we're going to have to figure something out, but yeah, 30 years as a band. And
incredible.
Then it'll be 30 in 2024 from the first record release. So, that it's just mind blowing. I just can't believe it was that long ago. But, I've been very, very fortunate and blessed and lucky to just keep doing this. And the people really relate to that record in such an intense way.